aware of this marijuana solution.
The Marijuana Solution would like to remind you to check out our sponsors after the podcast. We're going to have links to them in the description. Our sponsors are Trulieve, Sunshine Cannabis, The Smart Collective, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, and We Are Rare. Don't forget to check out those links in the description. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe. Leave us a review.
We're Florida's first licensed medical cannabis dispensary with locations all throughout Florida, and we deliver all throughout Florida next day. We have the largest selection of products within the allowable delivery methods. Trulieve products are hand-grown in an environment that keeps it as natural as possible at every turn. We don't use pesticides, and we lab test our products, and those lab tests are published on our website, so you can be confident at the medication that you're putting into your body. Our favorite products are our vaporization lines, our True Pod, our True Clear is a patient favorite, and we also just recently launched True Flower for patients that want the full entourage effect. At Trulieve, we're really proud to offer the largest variety to patients, and we're really excited about the future and all of our patients that are helping us expand and grow and make our products even better. Visit our website at www.trulieve.com to find out where all of our dispensaries are located, shop online, learn more about our products, or find a doctor if you haven't gotten started in the medical cannabis process.
Hello everyone, you're listening to The Marijuana Solution, and I'm your host, Robert Roundtree. And this episode, we have a very special guest, attorney Jon Mills. He is one of the original authors of the Florida Medical Marijuana Amendment 2. He is also the attorney that was representing Miss Cathy Jordan, who just won the decision for smokable cannabis in Florida. And we have him on because recently Judge Gievers vacated the stay, and we want to know what that's going to mean for the patients of Florida and how this process could play out and get his opinion on some things. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hello, Mr. Mills. How are you doing today?
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations on the court case win, and obviously getting Judge Gievers. She lifted the stay, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. In a previous case that she ruled on, in the Redner case, the appellate court reinstated the stay, saying that there wasn't a likelihood of success on the merits, and it sounds like they're probably going to reverse that decision. What is the legal argument for the First District Court of Appeals to rule differently than they did in the Redner case, as far as pertaining to the merits of this one?
In this case, what you have is a direct conflict between the constitutional definition of marijuana for medical use and a statute that prohibits medical use of smokable marijuana. So we're addressing the unconstitutionality of the statute as a direct issue, and we have the lower court making the finding that there is a likelihood of success on our part. So it's a different issue. Never predict what any particular court is going to do, but the issue is different.
Okay, good. That definitely clarifies some things, because people have kind of been, confusing the two cases because they're pretty monumental. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, when you were helping draft Amendment 2, did you foresee being in court, having to argue this case and all the other ones that came out of it, just the cluster that's going on right now?
I believe whenever you are drafting or dealing with a constitutional provision, you can expect it'll be challenged. So, yes, that was part of the reason for doing a detailed intent document to express the intent of the drafters, which is particularly relevant in the smoking area, because the statute in text, or the Constitution in text, is very explicit in terms of allowing smokable marijuana in the medical context for treatment. And a statement of intent is a separate issue, that a separate document that the drafters produced to explain, say, here's what those words mean if you need further clarification. And with regard to smoking, it said clearly the treatment of being able to smoke was available in private places and was legal. There's a textual statement that allows governments to restrict smoking in public places, which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just assume that, kind of playing this out, Judge Gievers' decision stands. Can the state, they'll probably then try and take it to the Supreme Court? Is that what would happen?
Ultimately, this case is likely to be decided in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a constitutional interpretation. It's a new provision of the Constitution, and this particular case involves the constitutionality of a statute. So it's the kind of case that the Supreme Court would take.
Yep, definitely makes sense. And the good thing that I've tried to educate my listeners on is the fact that Florida has a medical marijuana program in their Constitution. So some of the the larger issues between federal and state, we have a little more protection because it's more of a states' rights issue than if it would have just been a legislative measure. Would you say that that's somewhat accurate?
Since it's in the state constitution, it's a higher order of protection than being in a state statute. Federal issues, of course, distinct, but with regard to any conflicting state statutes, the Constitution always will prevail over a statute.
Right, and that makes sense too. I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add about the case.
I think an important holding that the judge made on this vacating the motion to stay was that the individuals, people like Cathy Jordan, had immediate and irreparable harm because of the implementation of the statute. They're put in an untenable situation of saying, do I commit a crime or do I use a medicine that allows me to breathe, live, and enjoy my life? And that's just not a position that the statute should put people in if there's a constitutional right, and that's what the court recognized.
Yeah, and that's important because, of course, in Cathy Jordan's case, she's been using smokable cannabis for decades. I actually saw her this weekend in Sarasota. Her and Bob were there at the Florida Medical Cannabis Conference and Expo. Myself and my partner, Chris Sunshine, we gave a speech on genetics and intellectual property, and she was doing pretty well. She was speaking pretty good. I've met her and talked with her a bunch, and she seemed to be in pretty good spirits.
Yeah, I talked to them yesterday. They seem to be doing well, and we just need to move forward.
And moving forward, about how long could this process play out before it's ultimately decided by the higher court?
We don't know. We're moving, and we'll continue to move and take actions that will try to expedite review. It could be without those motions to expedite and other measures, it would be over a year. But we hope and are working towards something that would be months in resolution rather than over a year.
Yeah, Miss Jordan and the her family and all the other patients that are relying on this definitely are happy that we have folks like yourself, Mr. Morgan, and the Jordans that are willing to take this fight on for everybody. And we're going to put our support behind you full steam. Really hope that we continue to see these expedited motions because she is, as everyone knows, terminally ill, and there's no reason for her to have to continue to wait all these months.
Just to add that Bob and Cathy Jordan are my heroes, that they are have stood up fought for and are fighting for the thousands of other people who have debilitating conditions, whether it's cancer, ALS, PTSD. So they are really symbols of courage that we ought to respect and appreciate.
Absolutely. They've had their house raided, been arrested before. I mean, this has been a long battle for them, and I couldn't agree with you more. They're definitely heroes in many people's eyes, especially those in Florida and the movement, because they've been fighting tooth and nail against the government for years. And hopefully we're about to see all that come to an end. I really appreciate your time today, Mr. Mills.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a great time, and good luck on the rest of the case.
Thank you. Goodbye.
The Marijuana Solution would like to remind you to check out our sponsors after the podcast. We're going to have links to them in the description. Our sponsors are TrueLeave, Sunshine Cannabis, The Smart Collective, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, and We Are Rare. Don't forget to check out those links in the description, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe. Leave us a review.
Aware of the marijuana solution.